The last time anyone saw 17-year-old Amelia Brooks, she was standing outside her home in Grants Pass, Oregon, on a warm June morning. Her mother, Linda, said Amelia was beaming with pride, her hands trembling slightly as she clutched a letter from the University of California. She said she got into a summer program for gifted high school students. She hugged her mom tight and said she'd be back in 6 weeks. That was almost 3 months ago. She never came back. The town was small. Word spread fast. First came the missing posters stapled to trees and telephone poles. Then the Facebook posts from friends and prayers from church. People said Amelia was smart, quiet, and polite. Not the kind to run away, not the kind to vanish without a word. The first police report was filed 48 hours after she was supposed to return. Sheriff Dale Clark, a retired Marine and part-time football coach, didn't think much of it at first. Teenagers go through phases, he told reporters. She probably met someone and decided to stay longer. But Linda knew better. Amelia was careful, always called, always texted. She never even got a C in class, let alone disappear without a word. When they checked with the University of California, the real shock hit. There was no record of any summer program, no acceptance letter, no scholarship, nothing. She lied, one news anchor said. Something's wrong, said Linda. Now, 3 months later, the police have no leads. The media has moved on, but Linda hasn't. She still puts fresh flowers on Amelia's windowsill every Sunday, still keeps her room clean, still believes someone out there knows the truth. Enter Detective Marcus Reed. He wasn't local. He came from Portland, hired privately by Linda with the last of her savings. A former FBI profiler turned private investigator. Late 40s, sharp eyes, quiet voice. Wore the same Navy suit and leather notebook everywhere he went. Reed didn't believe in accidents or coincidences. The first thing he asked was, who did Amelia tell about the program? Linda listed a few people. Her best friend Mia, her English teacher, Mrs. Holcomb, the pastor's wife, Sister Eleanor, and a boy named Caleb who lived down the road. She wasn't dating him, Linda said, but he was always around. Reed nodded slowly and scribbled in his notebook. I want to see her room, he said. Upstairs, Amelia's room was neat and untouched. The bed was made, her books stacked in alphabetical order. A journal sat on her nightstand, but it was missing pages in the middle, torn out. Did you take any pages out? Reed asked Linda. Number, I didn't touch her journal. Reed looked closer. The last entry was written in large, excited letters. I finally got in. This changes everything. He turned back to Linda. Did she pack a bag? She left with one suitcase, Linda said, and she wore her blue hoodie, the one with the stars on the sleeve. Reed nodded. Something didn't add up. A missing girl, a fake summer program, torn out pages, and a suitcase no one ever found. It was time to talk to the people she trusted most. One of them, he suspected, knew more than they let on. Detective Marcus Reed always started with the people closest to the victim. In his experience, secrets were like cracks in glass, small at first, but if you pressed just right, they would shatter. He began with Mia Henderson. Mia and Amelia had been best friends since kindergarten. They went to church together, joined the same book club, and even shared a locker at school. Reed met Mia at her house, a neat one-story home with a trampoline in the backyard. Mia's mother, a nurse, greeted him with a tired smile and called her daughter out of her room. Mia was a thin girl with long, frizzy hair and pale skin. Her eyes looked red, like she had cried too much and then stopped trying. She sat on the couch fidgeting with a silver bracelet. When was the last time you saw Amelia? Reed asked gently. That morning. She came by to say goodbye, Mia said. She was so happy. She told me she finally got into that summer thing at the University of California. You didn't think it was strange? That you didn't know she applied? She said it was a last-minute opportunity, some kind of scholarship. She showed me a letter. Do you still have the letter? Mia shook her head. She took it with her. It looked real. It had a logo and everything. Reed studied her. What else did she say? She said she'd be back before school started, that it was something she needed to do for herself. Reed nodded. Did she mention anyone else? Maybe someone who helped her get in? Mia hesitated. She mentioned Caleb, said he knew someone who helped her apply. Now they were getting somewhere. Caleb Boone was 18, tall, athletic, popular. He worked part-time at his uncle's auto shop and was known around town as the Golden Boy. Amelia's mother said she wasn't dating him, but Linda didn't know everything. Reed found Caleb working under a dusty pickup truck, oil stains covering his jeans. Caleb wiped his hands and gave Reed a polite nod when he introduced himself. "You heard Amelia's missing?" Reed asked. "Yeah, it's messed up," Caleb replied. "She was cool, smart. I hope she turns up." Reed leaned on the workbench. "She told her friend Mia you helped her get into a summer program. That true?" Caleb looked confused, then laughed softly. "Man, no. I didn't help her get into anything. But you were close with her." "I wouldn't say that. We talked sometimes. She liked poetry. I liked her, but she wasn't really into me." "Did you see her the day she left?" Caleb paused. I saw her from my window. She got into a black car with tinted windows. I assumed it was her ride to the airport or something." "A black car? Did you get a plate?" "No, sorry, it was early. I figured it was like an Uber or something." That detail hadn't been mentioned before. Reed made a note. Then he visited the last person on the list, Mrs. Holcomb, the English teacher. She taught at Grants Pass High for over 20 years. Her classroom was filled with quotes from famous authors, potted plants, and shelves of dusty books. When Reed entered, she offered him a seat and a cup of tea. "Amelia was one of my best students," she said. "Quiet but brilliant." "Did she mention a summer program?" "She said she was going to study creative writing, that she'd gotten in late. I asked for more details, but she said she'd explain when she got back." Reed sipped his tea. "She didn't tell you which university?" "Number, but she looked proud." Reed looked around the classroom. "Do you still have the essay she turned in before leaving?" Mrs. Holcomb opened a drawer and pulled out a graded paper. The title read, "The Art of Disappearing." That night, Reed sat in his motel room and read the essay. It was haunting. Sometimes becoming someone else means vanishing completely. You have to let go of everything, even your name. And if you're lucky, no one will follow. Reed closed the paper and picked up the phone. Something was off. A girl too smart to fall for a fake program, torn journal pages, a mysterious car, and a final essay about disappearing. He had a list of people who claimed to care for her, but someone was lying. He could feel it. Detective Marcus Reed had read enough essays to know when a student was screaming between the lines. Amelia Brooks hadn't just vanished. She had planned something, or someone made it look like she did. The car Caleb mentioned stuck in his mind. A black car, tinted windows, no plate number. Something felt too neat about it, too clean. The next morning, Reed visited Linda again. "Did you call a cab or a rideshare service for Amelia the day she left?" "No," Linda said. "She told me the program was sending a shuttle to pick her up." "Did you see the car?" "No," she frowned. "I left for work early. I hugged her goodbye, told her to call when she landed. She promised she would." Reed scribbled in his notebook again. "So no one in this house saw the car. Just Caleb." Linda blinked. "Wait. I think our neighbor, Mrs. Darla, was outside watering her garden that morning. She might have seen something." Darla Simmons lived 3 houses down. She was 71, hard of hearing, and loved to gossip. When Reed knocked on her door, she welcomed him in without hesitation. "Oh yes, I remember that day," she said, handing him a warm cookie. "Amelia was dragging a suitcase, wearing that hoodie with stars on the sleeves. Pretty girl, very polite. Did you see the car that picked her up?" "I did. Strange thing, it wasn't marked. Big black SUV, no logo. Real shiny. The driver didn't even get out. She put the suitcase in herself." "Could you see the license plate?" "That's the thing. It didn't have one on the back. I even remember thinking it looked like a government car or something. You know, those secretive types." Reed thanked her and left. That confirmed Caleb's story. But it also raised new questions. Why would a summer program send an unmarked car for one student? And why would Amelia go without saying goodbye to Mia in person, or texting anyone later? Reed headed to the local DMV next. The clerk, a short woman named Susan, raised an eyebrow when he asked about black SUVs without plates. Private vehicles need plates by law, she said. Only law enforcement or federal vehicles are allowed to drive without one. Could a rental company issue a vehicle without plates? Only temporary ones, usually taped inside the back window. Reed shook his head. Darla didn't mention that. Susan leaned forward. If you give me a window of time and street name, I can check traffic camera logs. We got one installed near Hillview in Maybrook last year. Reed gave her the address. She tapped away at her keyboard. An hour later, she called him back. I found it, she said. June 9th, 6:57 a.m. A black Chevy Suburban turned onto Maybrook. No plates on the back. No visible markings. Can I get a still from the footage? Already emailed it to you. Reed opened the image on his phone. The SUV was caught mid-turn, tinted windows, no plate, and in the driver's seat, a man with a gray beard and a baseball cap, just visible through the glare. Reed enlarged the image and noticed something strange. The man wore a shirt with a small red bird logo. That wasn't just any logo. It belonged to Red Finch Security, a local private security firm known for transporting high-value clients. He called them immediately. The receptionist hesitated. We don't give client info without a warrant. I'm investigating a missing minor. If I find out your driver picked her up under false pretense, I'll come back with a warrant and your lawyer. She went silent. A minute later, a man came on the line. Deep voice, calm. This is Mr. Harlan, head of operations. What's the name? Amelia Brooks, June 9th. Pickup in Grants Pass. A pause, then. We did have a pickup scheduled that morning, contracted by a client in another name. The girl's name wasn't on the manifest. Who hired you? I can't disclose that, but I can tell you where she was dropped off. Reed grabbed his pen. She was taken to a private address just outside Medford. Not a university, a residence. The detective's eyes narrowed. Someone had lured Amelia, lied about the program, sent a fake driver in a real security vehicle, and no one questioned it. It wasn't a disappearance anymore. It was an abduction. Detective Marcus Reed didn't waste time. The moment he got the drop-off address from Red Finch Security, he hit the road. Medford was just over 30 minutes from Grants Pass, but with every mile a knot tightened in his chest. Something wasn't right about any of this. A fake summer program, a hired driver, and now a house in a remote part of town where no summer program should ever lead. The house was on the edge of a wooded area off Deadwood Trail. GPS led him to a gravel driveway lined with pine trees. A single mailbox stood at the entrance, dented and rusting. No name, just the number, 2976. Reed slowed his car, pulling up to a two-story house that looked like it had once been a vacation rental, but had since gone forgotten. The paint peeled at the corners. The porch light was broken, no car in the driveway. He stepped out, hand hovering near his holster, and knocked twice. No answer. He walked around the house. The backyard was wild, overgrown grass, a broken bird feeder, and a shed with a rusted lock. He noticed faint tire tracks near the side, as if a car had driven off recently. Back at the front, he tried the door. Unlocked. Reed entered slowly. The air smelled like mildew and stale coffee. The living room had a couch, a coffee table with old magazines, and a cold fireplace. But it was the kitchen that caught his attention. On the fridge was a note, stuck with a magnet that said, "Smile, it's summer." The note read, "Groceries delivered Friday. Girl staying till further notice. Don't let her leave." No signature, no date. He snapped a picture of it. He continued down the hall. The bedroom to the right had a thin mattress on the floor, a backpack tossed to the side, and a pink hoodie draped over a chair, the same hoodie Darla Simmons had described. On the desk sat a notebook. He opened it. The first page read, "Amelia Brooks, Day 2. He flipped through. The entries were short. "They lied. This isn't a school. He brings food and leaves, won't tell me where I am. I'm locked in every night. No signal, no Wi-Fi, no escape. I heard him on the phone, said she's clean, and something about waiting for payment. If anyone finds this, tell my mom I didn't run away. I never would." Reed swallowed hard. She had been held here. He checked the bathroom. Blood on the sink, dried and dark. A broken mirror. More hair than a person should ever shed in a single brush. Something violent had happened here. In the corner of the closet, under a pile of old coats, Reed found a phone. It was powered off. He took it carefully, placed it in an evidence bag. Then he called forensics and backup. While he waited, he stood in the middle of the room and closed his eyes. She'd been scared, alone, writing in a notebook that no one was supposed to find. Reed's phone buzzed. It was the Red Finch security operator again. "We pulled the contract," the voice said. "The client who hired the driver gave a fake name, but we traced the payment. It was made with a prepaid card purchased in Ashland. Security footage from the store shows a woman, about 40, blonde, wearing a blue coat with a fur collar." Reed's mind jumped to Linda Brooks. Amelia's mother was blonde, 40-ish, but she wasn't the only woman who fit that description in Amelia's life. He grabbed his notepad and flipped back. Mrs. Holcomb, the teacher, supportive, sweet, and the last adult Amelia trusted before leaving. Reed opened his notebook and reviewed the quote from Amelia's essay again. "Sometimes becoming someone else means vanishing completely. You have to let go of everything, even your name." It wasn't just an essay, it was a message, a clue, maybe even a cry for help, and Reed had just found where she cried last. Chapter 5. The Teacher and the Trail. Detective Marcus Reed couldn't ignore it anymore. Every thread led back to Mrs. Holcomb, Amelia's literature teacher. He sat in his car outside Holcomb High, watching the students file out as the last bell rang. It had been nearly 2 weeks since Amelia's disappearance. The school had posted flyers. The teachers wore yellow pins. But Reed knew this wasn't about public mourning. It was about secrets. Mrs. Holcomb emerged from the building, her hair tied up in a neat bun, her floral dress too perfect for a woman teaching teenagers all day. She walked like someone with nothing to hide. That always bothered Reed, the ones who looked too clean. He got out of the car and approached. "Mrs. Holcomb," she turned, surprised. "Yes?" "Detective Marcus Reed. Do you have a moment?" "Of course," she said with a practiced smile. "Is this about Amelia?" "I'd like to ask a few questions. Maybe somewhere private." Her smile tightened. "We can use the staff lounge." Once inside, he placed Amelia's notebook gently on the table. He opened it to one of the last entries. "He said I was chosen, that I was smart, that I reminded him of someone he loved." Mrs. Holcomb glanced at it, eyes wide. "She wrote that here? In town? In a house outside Medford? A house she never should have been in?" Silence filled the room like heavy smoke. "She admired you," Reed said, "mentioned you in her essay. You wrote her recommendation for the summer program. But no one ever found that program. Not a single online record. And the address she was taken to, it wasn't a school. It was a holding house." Mrs. Holcomb looked like she'd been hit. "I didn't know. You signed something. Red Finch logs show a woman matching your description purchasing the prepaid card used to hire the driver. I pulled the store's security footage. We're running it through facial recognition right now. If it confirms the match, I'll have a warrant for your arrest." Tears welled up in her eyes. She didn't speak. "Why?" Reed pressed. "Was it money? Blackmail?" She finally spoke. "It wasn't supposed to go like that," she whispered. "I was helping her." "Helping her? How?" "She was being groomed by someone online. She told me things about late-night texts from an older friend. She thought it was innocent, but I knew it wasn't. I tried to report it, but the system, it's broken. No one listened, so I took matters into my own hands." "You staged a fake summer program and had her picked up in a black SUV?" "I just wanted her away from him. Safe. I arranged for her to stay at that house. Temporarily. I paid for a security firm to bring her there and hired a woman I trusted to watch her. But then the woman bailed, and the man found her." Reed leaned in. "What man?" Mrs. Holcomb trembled. "She never gave me his real name. Just called him Eli. Said he had a gray beard. Sent her books, poetry, promised her a future. He called her his summer star." Reed froze. He remembered the fridge note. Girl staying till further notice. Don't let her leave. This wasn't about protection. Someone had lured Amelia, and Mrs. Holcomb unknowingly helped. You handed her over to the predator you were trying to protect her from, Reed said flatly. No, Holcomb said. I never told him where she was. He found her somehow. Maybe followed her. Maybe followed me. I don't know. Reed stood. Where is she now? Mrs. Holcomb looked down. I don't know. After the fourth day, I lost contact. I was too scared to tell anyone. I thought she'd come back. Reed left the lounge with a tight jaw and burning focus. The house was compromised. Amelia had been moved. The only name they had now was Eli. He called dispatch. I need a search warrant for every known offender or alias using the name Eli within a 50-mile radius of Grants Pass and Medford, especially older men. Gray beard, history of grooming or coercion, cross-check for private properties near rivers or remote trails. He ended the call and looked at Amelia's notebook again. On the last page, scrawled in shaky writing, was one final note. He says we're going hiking soon, somewhere no one will ever find us. The morning air was damp as detective. Marcus Reed followed a narrow, winding trail deep into the wilderness outside Rogue River. The path was barely marked, barely legal, mostly known to hunters and hikers who didn't mind getting lost. Reed wasn't hiking for pleasure. He had a name now. Elias Warner, age 62, formerly a professor of poetry at a community college in Salem. Fired for inappropriate conduct with a female student, no charges filed. Changed his name a year later, moved to Southern Oregon, and dropped off the grid. One thing stood out in the database. Elias owned a cabin near the Coyote Fork Trail, 10 miles out. Secluded, no cell service, no neighbors for at least 2 miles in any direction. Reed parked at the last trailhead where vehicles were allowed, then hiked on foot, following crude GPS coordinates in the printed property map. He carried his radio, sidearm, and a dull ache in his chest that told him time was running out. After nearly an hour, he found it. A log cabin, built with dark timber, half covered in moss. A thin trail of smoke curled from the chimney. Someone was inside. He crouched low, crept up the slope, staying hidden behind trees. Through the dirty window, he saw a man, white, gray-bearded, flannel shirt, sitting at a table, humming softly as he peeled an apple with a knife. And across the room on a low cot in the corner was a young girl with her back turned. She was alive. Reed moved fast. He slipped around the side and tried the back door. Locked. He whispered into his radio. This is Detective Reed. Cabin confirmed. 2 occupants. Request backup, medical, and support units. Coordinates to follow. Entering now. He moved back around and raised his weapon. Police! Hands where I can see them. Inside, Elias jumped up. The girl screamed. Reed kicked the front door open. Back away from her. Now! Elias dropped the knife and raised his hand slowly. Don't shoot. We were just having breakfast. Reed moved quickly toward the cot. The girl turned, and there she was. Amelia Brooks. Pale, thinner, her cheeks sunken. But her eyes were alive. She burst into tears the moment she saw Reed's badge. It's okay, he said, kneeling beside her. You're safe now. Elias spoke calmly, disturbingly so. She came with me freely. She wasn't ready to go home. Reed cuffed him without a word. You're under arrest for unlawful restraint, kidnapping, and whatever else I can pile on once we get back. As he led Elias outside, the old man looked back at Amelia with something twisted in his gaze. She's special. She chose to stay. Amelia clutched Reed's jacket. No, I didn't, she whispered. He drugged me. He said no one wanted me back, that Mom was glad I was gone. Reed's blood boiled. Let's get you home. As Reed closed the notebook, the wind rustled through the trees, soft but steady. It felt like the forest had finally exhaled. But there was still one chapter left to write. The truth. Because this wasn't just a case. It was a wake-up call. Amelia's voice deserved to be heard. The town of Grants Pass had never known a silence like the one that followed Amelia's return. Not grief, relief, disbelief, and then fury. The kind that fills school hallways and coffee shop whispers. The kind that stares down school boards, police departments, and parents who should have paid more attention. But Amelia Brooks, 15, wasn't interested in whispering. She wanted her voice back. 2 weeks after her rescue, Amelia sat in a courtroom, small and pale in a navy sweater. She gripped a folded piece of notebook paper in her trembling hands. Elias Warner sat only 15 feet away, his gray beard trimmed, his eyes cold. His lawyers had pushed for mental instability. They argued the relationship had been misunderstood, that she never tried to escape. Amelia stood. The judge nodded gently. "You may read your statement." She unfolded the paper. "My name is Amelia Brooks. I am 15 years old. I was kidnapped, lied to, and held in a cabin in the woods for 14 days. He said I was loved. He said I was special. He called me Summer Star, like it was some kind of gift. But what he gave me wasn't love, it was fear. He didn't take me with rope or chains. He used words, compliments, secrets. He made me feel seen. But what he wanted was to own me. I didn't fight back the way people think I should have. I didn't scream because I thought no one was coming. I thought the world would just say I ran away, that it was my fault. But Detective Reed believed me. He read my journal. He found the house. He brought me home. And I'm not hiding anymore. If someone ever tells you you're too special to say no, run. If someone asks you to keep secrets from people who love you, tell someone. You are not too young. You are not too loud. Your voice is yours and you can use it. I'm Amelia Brooks. I didn't disappear. I was taken. And I came back." The courtroom held still. The judge blinked slowly, fighting the weight of her words. A few sniffles filled the air. Elias said nothing. He never would again, not in public. Sentenced to 45 years without parole for kidnapping, unlawful restraint, and attempted coercion of a minor. He left the courtroom in shackles. Mrs. Holcomb resigned the next day. Her license was suspended indefinitely for her role in the Forged Summer program. She claimed to be trying to protect Amelia. The public didn't forgive easily. Amelia didn't either. But Amelia didn't go back into the shadows. She worked with a local nonprofit to start the Summer Star Project, a teen-led campaign to educate students on online grooming, fake programs, and adult manipulation. She spoke at schools, wrote editorials, and taught others what signs to look for. She even returned to Holcomb High for one final thing: graduation, 2 years later, where she walked across the stage to a standing ovation. She didn't vanish, she was stolen, but she refused to stay silent. Detective Marcus Reed placed the file in his archive box labeled Survivors. Only a few cases earned that title. He glanced at a photo on his desk, Amelia smiling with her high school diploma, standing beside a mural that read, "Silence is never safety." And with that, the case was closed.